Hey party people, welcome back, and it is time to talk about the solo games, the top solo games for 2023 by myself and you. I'm going to have a couple content creators come in, share their top 10s, and also myself. I will tell you, I always try to pull people from the community, and some years we actually get several people who are not content creators who want to share their thoughts. So every year when I do this, I will put the offers out there in the Facebooks and Reddits, and if you show up and you want to do it, do it. It's real quick. Get on camera, show us and tell us how you think about these games. Now, every year I have sort of a theme or something I'm targeting or a specific group of people that I'm looking for. This year, I decided to target some of the bigger big box games. And that's why I'm kind of taking a different route here. These are going to be action and adventure games, okay? Games that have, cooperative themes to them where it's putting you in an action-packed situation, or you're dungeon crawling, or a game that gives you a sense of adventure. It could be a Euro game, like, for example, Darwin's Journey could be about adventuring, right? That could be adventuring. But of course, Resident Evil is a dungeon crawling, action and adventure. It's very easy to understand the differences between the two. I just kind of extended it out so people can share what they want. I don't like top 10 lists that restrict people, but I decided to go with themes so people who are generally interested in the hobby know exactly what we're looking for when we get to these games. Now, I'm going to share some of my games with you, of course, but first I want to give you one or two of these content creators. Let's start.
Hi everybody, it's Mark here from Not Board Gaming. Now, one of my favourite kind of action dungeon crawling experiences this year has been with Resident Evil from Steamforged Games. And if you play the video game, you know that you are these STARS agents and you've been holding up in a mansion and bad things are coming at you, zombies are coming at you, zombie dogs are coming at you, bad guys are coming at you, you're collecting items, you're solving puzzles, and you're healing yourself, and you're trying to get through this kind of eminently replay series of events, basically, as you search the mansion trying to get to the helipad. I think I wasn't that enamored with Resident Evil 3. I never played Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil has really hit the spot for me this year. Now, it doesn't do anything massively new or original, but what it does do is absolutely capture that feel of playing the video game of this mansion that you're trying to explore and fight things off. I've really enjoyed my time with Resident Evil, the board game, this year, and therefore my recommendation for kind of one of the dungeon crawling action adventure type games that you can have this year is going to be Resident Evil from Steamforged Games. This is Mark from Not Board Gaming saying goodbye.
So before I dig into my list, I'm just going to give you a couple here that did not make it, or it was just like a weird situation. Halls of Hegra, I really wanted to play that. I just didn't have the time. I didn't want to delay the list any longer. Frosthaven, sort of from last year, sort of not. So I didn't want to, I'm just not putting it in there. Resident Evil, I played it in its prototype form, and I just didn't get to play it enough in its final form. And I'm sure there's a couple more in there, but let's just go ahead and get to the list. Number 10 is Deliverance. This is by Lowen Games. This is a labor of love. I think this game's been in development and finally delivered like 5 years of just getting up to the campaign, and then like a year or two to get it here. It was finally here. And it was a game I was tracking, but since it had been so long as on its path, I'm like, man, like, when we gonna get that game? But we got the game, and now that we have the game, it's it's an awesome game. It is a really awesome game. Basically, you are angels, you're fighting demons, and you're trying to take care of the people who are praying. And the interesting part about this is you're going to have like an action economy, so you'll have several actions on your turn, and you're kind of playing with that, and you have like a resource that will help you, and you have cards that will help you kind of do cooler things. Several points that are really interesting about this game. The tactics that go on with your positioning and how you play that out, really cool. The leveling upgrade system, you have these 3 decks where you're upgrading levels 1, 2, and 3, and you can kind of customize your character as you go along. And when you go on a campaign, you get to customize yourself over time, and you get to fight these different enemies. And the enemies feel so different. It's not like you have a ton of them, but they feel different, and as the difficulty progresses, it's just right. Like, it's just right. Okay, so I love that about that randomness element when it comes to the enemies, but it just feels like The levels of enemies is just right. And here's another cool part about it. You can just play this at game night and you can just play the scenarios. So like kind of like Massive Darkness 2, which is like I liken this to. You can play it in sessions contained, but then you also have this campaign. And the campaign is good. You build up your levels and your characters. It's got a good pace to it. I think it's like 12 missions. I got to like 7. Really, really fun. Things happen. You get boons if you lose. You just come back in there. Honestly, you could fail forward in this game, whatever you want to do, but really had a good time with this game. So much so I put it on my top 10. I was actually recording this and I moved the game off the top 10. That's how I was like, man, no, this game got to be on the top 10 because it was that much fun. I had a really good time with this around the summertime. Deliverance. Definitely take a look at this.
Hey everybody, Daniel from the Dungeon Dive here. I hope you're having a great holiday season. So I'm not going to give away my number 1 game of 2023. I'm going to keep that as a surprise for my own year-end review video coming in January. But I did want to tell you about my favorite second edition of the year, and that is Fallen Land Second Edition from Fallen Dominion Studios. So in Fallen Land, you manage a town in a post-apocalyptic United States, sending out parties of survivors to gather goods, find loot, and battle against other humans and mutants, all while trying to survive, become stronger, and while upgrading your city. So here are 5 reasons why Fallen Land 2nd Edition is my favorite 2nd edition of 2023. 1, it is available now. Even if you missed out on the Kickstarter, you can get everything at retail from the Fallen Dominion website. Number 2, it has great documentation. Fallen Land has one of the best rulebooks I've ever seen in a game. This new edition comes with an even better rulebook. It also comes with a scenario book with different scenarios that you can play standalone or you can combine into a campaign. It has scenarios for solo play, it has scenarios for co-op play, and it has scenarios for competitive play. Number 3 is all the different characters. This game has stacks of characters that you can hire to make up your party to send out into the wastelands and have great adventures. There are linking characters, so if you find like a husband and wife duo, you can hire them both, and because they're linked together, they get bonus powers. Such a great system. And speaking of that, number 4 is the loot. Oh my god, there is so much loot in this game. I mean, just stacks and stacks of loot. You can get vehicles for your adventuring party. You can upgrade your vehicles with armor and weapons. You can get like weird computer systems and mutant gear. You can get all kinds of different weapons and armor and med kits and all kinds of things. So much great loot. And finally, number 5 is all of the random encounters. If you like random encounters, boy howdy is Fallen Land the game for you. All kinds of well-written random encounters that have combat and non-combat, stat tests, different things that you will discover in the irradiated cities and in the mountains and in the plains and the wastelands of this post-apocalyptic United States. Just a fantastic game. It comes with so much stuff, so much adventure, and that is why Fallen Land 2nd Edition is my favorite 2nd edition of 2023, especially for solo play.
Number 9, the game that I played earlier this year, and actually one of the games that made me kind of take notice of Stonemaier. It did not make my top 10 list, but it definitely will make my top 10 list for the action adventure, loosely of course, and that is Expeditions. Expeditions came earlier this year, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Generally what you're doing in this game is you are kind of exploring out on the board, unveiling tiles, and kind of getting the resources and actions off of those. But you have a little card, little tableau that you're building. It's got a really, really neat system to it where you're moving this kind of action marker around, and you have to move it each time you take a turn, but it leaves 2 open, leaves the other 2 spots open. So you're kind of taking actions off that, and the cards trigger off each other, and they slot into your board in different ways. I just think that's smart. It was a smart game. The AI it's very easy to get to, so it gets right back to the gameplay, and that is one of the reasons why this game stuck with me. And I played it a lot, just like a lot in a short window. Probably need to get back to it, but of course I'm waiting for some of that expansion stuff because it's the writing's right there on the wall inside of the container. I mean, inside of the box, because it's got so much room in it. I mean, it probably add more players. I don't really care about that. I don't like the game necessarily at high player count, but I really enjoy this game solo, and I expect it to keep coming. The Automa did not fail us in this situation. All right, folks, more content creators and more of the top 10. Let's go.
Hey friends, my name is Jenna and I am from the Board Game Garden. If you've never heard of my channel, I've actually been on YouTube for about 10 years now, and I started out doing more lifestyle content, and I've kind of brought that into the board game space. I do lists, I do challenges, I do reviews, I do vlogs, which basically I just show you guys me playing board games. I also do live streams all the time of playthroughs of different board games. I also focus a lot on solo content, so you guys can see that over on the Board Game Garden. I was told that we were talking about dungeon crawlers or action games or adventure games, and the game that I have chosen from 2023 is actually a solo-only game. This is from North Star Game Studios, and that is Isla and Something Shiny, which I know you're probably thinking, this is not a dungeon crawler, but it is to me more of an adventure game. You are going on an adventure as Isla, and you're going through a story. There's a little bit of a choose your own adventure type of aspect to the game, where you are flipping over a card and then choosing some sort of option on that card. That card will then either go to the future, where you will then like have it come up again, or it'll go to the past where it is gone and you will not see it ever again. There's also an aspect of resource management where you're going to be gaining resources in certain ways. You're also going to be spending resources in certain ways, and just going through this story as Isla, going on an adventure, and I just absolutely love this game. I've played it a few different times throughout 2023, and it just recently came to retail, so I definitely recommend checking it out if you've yet to do so. So yeah, that is Isla and Something Shiny, my choice for dungeon crawler action adventure game for 2023. So again, huge thank you, Jeremy, for inviting me to be on the video. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and let's get on to the next person in the video.
Number 8. Number 8 is a game that I played a lot. I played the prototype a lot. As a matter of fact, I think I still have components from the prototype. I liked it so much. And that one is Monster Hunter by Steamforged Games. That game delivered. Now, I don't know if you remember back in the day when I first met Alex, really like around the time I first met Alex, we had a debate over that game in Primo. And it's crazy because the campaigns, this one, Monster Hunter's had 2 campaigns and they still haven't delivered on Primal. Well, thankfully, when Monster Hunter delivered, it delivered in several ways. And the one thing that really sticks with me about this game is you do feel like you're in the hunt. It's really, really light on story elements, honestly. But the card play is just really smart because you're really trying to pay attention to how you're going to play the offense, but it's also going to affect your ability to play defense. And that's just really, it's very action-packed. It gives you the idea of like stamina in a sense. It gives you that stamina feeling, so it feels like, ooh boy, like I can't invest too much in attacking, and positioning is really important. And the monsters get very unpredictable. You have ways of ways of making the combat feel different, and each dinosaur feels different. Now, the big hang up to that one is going to be how much content you get. The base box has just enough, and of course with the pricing, but the more stuff you add, the more excitement you get. I haven't dug into enough content for that game. I just sleeved it. I'm really excited because I got to sleeve it. That's how committed I am to this game. So definitely give that one a look. Maybe if you need to wait for a sale. I know it's big box. A lot of these games I'm suggesting are big box with higher prices, but just pay attention to it. Definitely fun. Monster Hunter.
Hi, I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and we are from Allies or Enemies.
And our favorite cooperative adventure game this year is The Lost Ruins of Arnak, The Missing Expedition.
And Lost Ruins of Arnak was already one of our favorite games. We really like it, but this adds a cooperative mode, and we love cooperative games.
And it's also a campaign, so there are 6 different chapters, and each chapter pushes you in different directions for how you play. So I love that we get to play cooperatively, and I love the challenge of the new modes that get introduced.
Yeah, it adds these little wrinkles each time that force your hand in these directions that you would not play as well. So it makes us explore parts of the game that we haven't done as much, And it allows me to win sometimes because Jess beats me at this like 90% of the time.
And now we're a team, so we can win most of the time.
And that is our favorite adventure game of 2023.
Number 7 is 20 Strong. Now, you know I love Chip Theory. I love their games. They make good games. They make great games too. They make good and they make great to me. So this one here is that potential to be great because it's going to keep on giving. You simply have dice. You're going to be allocating the dice in different ways depending on the adventures, and they all feel different. They have similar elements of how you're using dice. You'll be placing them on and kind of solving strategies. In one game you'll be picking locks, and another one you'll be going through kind of a tourney thing, and another one you're just taking on alien waves. So it always has this different, like slightly different mechanics, and it feels thematic towards that experience. And what I look forward to is being able to travel and play with it more, and then be able to play with future expansions, which they're already kind of working on. I can't even say some of the things that I found out. There's a lot going on with this series, and it has a lot of potential. I'm glad that people are liking it because I want to see more of it, and you know how much they invest in it. Definitely take a look at 20 Strong. It's a little pricey, but it's definitely worth it if you're one of those people who likes to travel and get games to the table really quickly with very minimum setup. Definitely take a look at 20 Strong.
Hi, my name is Monique from a channel called Before You Play, and my favorite solo game that was new to me this year is a game called Nautillion. Now, this game can also be played as a co-op, and it's not quite a dungeon crawler, but it is an adventure style game in the sense that in this game you have an enemy called the Dark House, and their goal is to try to send a submarine up to the surface of the ocean to try to take over an island. And so your job is to try to recruit a crew of people who are going to help you send your own submarine down to the bottom of the ocean to destroy the enemy before they can do so. And so I really enjoyed this game because it features dice rolling, where you basically assign dice each round to different areas of the play area that affect how quickly each submarine moves. And there are a lot of different types of submarines that come with the game. There are also several expansions, and the artwork is fantastic. And so this is actually part of a line of games called the Oniverse that I'm currently trying to play through. But so far, this is the one that has caught my eye, and now I'm really looking forward to trying the rest. So again, that is Nautillion, my favorite solo game of the year.
Hey, this is like, I'm looking at my list, like Dice Chucker of the year. You know, like just chuck it, boom, bam, all that stuff. Like this is Deep Rock Galactic. This game, I was sent the game after Essen for a review. When I got it to the table, when I was in this time crunch, all of a sudden, I just kept playing this game. It's because I love to chuck dice, man. And I also like action themed stuff, like when you feel the action. This is based off a video game. You know, Deep Rock Galactic is like a mine. I mean, there's these miners that go down and kind of go on missions. Story totally irrelevant to me. You go down there and you're trying to mine and get these resources, take all that stuff, fulfill the mission requirements, and then go back. And while this is happening, you got these monsters coming out of portals. You know, think sort of like just think aliens, okay? So you got these things coming out of there. They're trying to get you, and they're small, medium, and gigantic. So you got these big miniatures on there. Think Massive Darkness 2. It's just you're gonna get overwhelmed, but you're chucking things out. You got you got grenades. You got your guns, but there was limited ammo, so it's like Resident Evil-ish. So you got the strategy that you got to figure out. But then you can call in this supply thing. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. You know, there's a luck fest to it, but whatever, man. Like, it's fun. It does its thing. I will say, as a warning, it is very expensive. I mean, I was sent a review copy. I didn't pay anything. But that's expansions. Even if you look into those, you're like, I want to go all in on this. Jeremy got me all hype. Price is the only thing holding this back. But as you can see, it made it somewhere in my list because it was just that fun. Like Cthulhu Death May Die kind of level of like, let's chuck it, let's get overwhelmed. Just different theme, of course, but based off of video games. If you're interested in the video game, I'm assuming it hits the theme. I've seen other reviewers talk about how it hits the theme, but man, check out that game. I got real passionate about that one. That's because I love to chuck dice, folks. Deep Rock Galactic.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DeLisio, and my favorite solo adventure game from 2023 comes from publisher Chip Theory Games, who's known for very large, lavish productions. They're not known for games this size. This is 20 strong, and this is essentially a gaming system as much as it is a singular game. It came with a brand new IP known as Solar Sentinels, but if you have played other games like Too Many Bones, for example, there is a version of Too Many Bones using the 20 strong system. There's also one in this initial release that is Hoplomachus Victorum. It all centers around a very clever dice rolling system, and what I really appreciate about this particular release is how it is able to evoke some thematic kind of connections to the larger games. And so if you have wanted to dip your toe into some of these Chip Theory Games releases, but you've been a little intimidated by these big lavish packages, 20 Strong is a great way to check that out, and it's a fantastic, solid game.
Hello, I am Board Game Officer, and my favorite game this year has definitely been Chronicles of Drunagor, Age of Darkness. Did I do it? I did it! Chronicles of Drunagor, Age of Darkness. If you don't know this game, it's a 1 to 5 player dungeon crawler game. My favorite part about this game is the unique mechanic that it has. So it's going to have these characters, there's double-sided here. You're going to have cubes that activate each ability. So it's kind of a cube management type of dungeon crawler game. You're going to be playing your cubes. When you use all your cubes, you have to take them all back. You have to get a cursed cube. And if you get too many cursed cubes, you die. You have to go around this board. The darkness is chasing you. All in all, it's such a great game. And another thing that I absolutely love is this interaction book. As you go throughout each chapter and each scenario, there's going to be different types of interactions that you could do. And we come up, it's going to give you so many options. And so this kind of gives it that real RPG type of feeling. The choices can make a huge difference in that, not only in that scenario, but long affecting as well. Anyways, super, super cool, unique idea. One of the best things why I love playing it solo is because all of the characters. There are so many different characters you can play. These are double-sided. All of these are amazing. And that's the best thing is I have literally played every single character in the base and all the expansions. And there's not a single one that I dislike. There's some I like more than others, but there's not one that I dislike. And they're all so different. Even there's 2 rangers and they both feel so different even though they're both rangers. It's such an incredible game, and that is my favorite game this year.
There should not be one solo cooperative list without Tales from the Red Dragon in on it. I'm serious. Like this is just one of those dice chuckers that's absolutely fun to play. I played this at the end of the year and I was like, wow, like let me just kind of give you a scope. So you got these different characters, you be chucking dice, everything, there's like 20 maps, they're all like paper maps, you lay them out, it's got all the characters and all the enemies that you need on the board, you got dice that'll tell you what to do on their turn, you got a good onboarding process because each set of chapters comes in like a setup, so you got the components you need specifically for what you need, and you're just going to be taking these regular actions, chucking dice. You're always going to hit. It's just how well you're going to hit, basically. And it's just got this good old sense of adventure. There's bits everywhere, folks. There's little chits and bits. I always say chits and bits and chits and bits and chits and bits. There's chits and bits everywhere. It's okay. I'm fine with that. I just love the little journey that you're going on, the way you level up in this game, the cool part of like running out of life and then flipping over and having this injured version of yourself and you're fighting, you know, you're still getting into the fight. It just works. It's just absolutely fun. I never played any of the Red Dragon Inn stuff, so I was just like, whatever. But then I kept hearing about it, especially Mike Kelly was talking about it, and I was just like, dude, this game is awesome, man. Like, so definitely check this one out. I want to say it's like $125, but it's a big box. It's got a lot of stuff in it. I think it's 20 missions. So you got you're getting a good money's worth. You're gonna spend a lot of time with this on your table, and you got, I think, 6 characters. So you got a lot to choose from to decide like how you want to run your campaign. It can go all the way down to 1. You got a little bot that you do it with. I haven't even touched that. I play 3-handed when I have an opportunity, and it's really easy to upkeep on that, which is cool. So Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, definitely take a look at this one. Of course, budget pending. Hey, man, yeah, this one's really fun.
Hey guys, Carl from Perfumous Plays. My choice for the best action-adventure game of this year has got to be Isla and Something Shiny. This game has a really cool card-based system in which each chapter you're given a unique deck of cards that you go through multiple times, pulling out cards, slotting in new cards in this very cool choose-your-own-adventure style system with a fun resource management puzzle layered on top. And then each chapter also offers new mechanical twists to keep everything very fun and exciting moving forward. In addition, each of the chapters comes with these small comic book prologues and epilogues, often with multiple endings, and the amount of story that comes through in these comic books and in the decks of cards themselves tells a really wonderful story. Though disclaimer, don't be fooled by the cutesy art, things do get a little bit heavy in the later part of the game. This game was originally published by a company called Ice Makes in Hong Kong a few years ago, and I was very excited when North Star Game Studios brought this back this year. I just managed to squeeze this in before the end of the year, and wow, am I glad I did.
These last 4 games, I'm not gonna lie, like they all could have been game of the year for me. They were all great. Like they were great. And it was so hard to choose, man. It was really hard to choose and break this stuff down. This one was, I'm actually pulled this one back just because it was a really, really recency bias. I had just played it, and I played it all weekend and then some, and it was really hard to get it off that table because I had some other work to do. So I was like, I'm just gonna slide this up, and then as soon as I'm done, I'm cleaning this up and I'm gonna slide it right back down and just keep playing it. And that is Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. Now, this is big because I didn't like Sleeping Gods. It's something about the tweaks, the combat, less upkeep, the more sense of adventure. I think the story stuff was down, but there's something about this one where I connect with it more. I connect to the characters more. I connect to the quests and how they chain together. It's very video gamey for me, and maybe that's where I'm leaning towards. Something about these video game-like games, they're speaking to me. You'll find out about another one coming up here, but there's just something about the resource management and the cards. There's almost too many cards coming out, which that's kind of a little bit of feedback I'll have. But there are almost too many cards per character because you can have a bank of them and add more icons. So it's a lot of icon heavy. It's a lot of resources and tracking still, but they've done a really good job of squeezing that down a little bit. And the story is really solid. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to play probably 2 campaigns before I move on from it, just because it's about, like 10 hours, 15 hours. I've been really taking my sweet time and enjoying this game. But Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, I don't know if it'll change it for you. I didn't dig too much into Sleeping Gods enough to say, hey, like, get this, not that, or it'll change your mind. I can't. I just was like, when I played Sleeping Gods, I was like, this is way too much. Like, this is way too much. And there were some random events. You would just die so quickly. This right here is way different to me. There's ways to get out of boss battles and things of that nature. So you can just get right back to it, the adventure. So definitely take this one, take a look at it, maybe pay attention to some more reviews. Hopefully that'll help you out. But man, I was moved by this one. This was a real...
Hi everybody, Luke Hector from The Broken Meeple here, and in 2023 I've been talking a lot about video game licenses and how they port well to board games, or at least for the most part. There have been some exceptions, but Deep Rock Galactic is one of the best ones this year that managed to do it and really stick its guns. It's 100% faithful to the video game, and I've sunk 500 hours into it, so if you haven't played it, by all means check it out on Steam. But this has everything that game had. You have got the 4 dwarfs that you have with all the ranged weapons like sniper rifles and flamethrowers and engineered turret guns, etc. But then you've got all the big bugs, everything from like the tiny little baby grunt miniature, like tiny little spider like that, to the giant oppressor of death, or the Praetorians, you know, these things that are giant, humongous, and ridiculous. But this thing is such a good fun co-op. You get to play up to 4 dwarves, you can play it solo, you get to create a map, you get to do one of 14 different scenarios, there's expansions on the way. This screams everything about Deep Rock Galactic, and it's why I enjoy playing it as my video game license of choice for 23.
Rock and stone, brother!
As I look down at my paper, I almost want to change the numbers around. Like, I really do. It's tough. It is tough to kind of get to these final 3. But Kenfire Chronicles is amongst the best games to come out this year. I almost put it on my top 10 overall, and I just was like, you know what, I'm going to save it for this list because I want to make sure you understand the importance of how good it was for a cooperative game. I like slick card games. It does that well. I like quick setups. I like, you know, quick turns and understanding the turns. I like a little randomness because that represents the action and adventure parts of it. It has this video game sprawling type thing where it's not Skyrim-ish, but it has this thing where you're going to have a chunk of quests. You'll learn a lot about your characters. You're going to go on these adventures that make sense, and you're going to make choices, and it feels like those choices are going to happen, like they're going to affect your game down the line. And even if you win or lose to a boss or a scenario, there's some things that will happen as well. So you always have something to keep you on your toes and guessing. But the card assist system that was in Kenfire Delve 2, which almost made my list. Too. I try to keep the sponsor stuff out of here because I want to make sure that that's not something like, you know, that doesn't come up. But Kenfire Delve, very good game. Very good game. And if you don't like campaign games, what if I told you there was a $20, $30 product where you can just take that represents the card system? That's my Kenfire Delve. But that system is where is inside of this big box game, that card assist system. And it's very easy. You're playing these color cards. You're trying to match things up and take out these enemies because you want to assist each other. They all have their own abilities. You know, you're drawing your turns from a bag, which could be divisive. It's not divisive for me. I enjoyed it because it gives a sense of randomness and the adventure. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted to get the sense of adventure, epic battles. It does that, and that big box, everything is laid out right there in front of you. You don't have components everywhere. You're opening envelopes, boom, this is what you need for this battle, and then these are the cards you need, and then we play it out. And that's like, it's like an hour tops for each one of these, and there's 20 of them. You got a bunch of characters. I can go on and on about this game. Matter of fact, it's been too long since I played this game, so it's got to get back to the table ASAP. And when I start over, it won't be that hard. That's the coolest part about it. It won't be that hard to pick up where I left off. I'll get myself associated with some missions that I have choices for, and then I go right back out. It'll tell me what box to open. I play the characters. The characters are inside their own little things. I got all the cards set up. Perfect. You know, so that's why Kenfire Chronicles is so high on my list. Definitely take a look at this game. I think there's a Kickstarter starting in March of 2024. Definitely take a look at this game. I highly recommend this game. Still a little pricey. I think it's about $150, but just consider it. Take a look at it, Kenfire Chronicles. Yeah, buddy. Now we're getting to the top 2.
Hey there, Man vs. Meeple. This is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, and my favorite adventure/crawler game of this year is easily Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. It's quickly become one of my favorite crawlers of all time, partially because I've been able to play it with my family, my 2 boys, but it's got great diversity in the characters, great tactical options, and great scenario variety in the combat, a fun and goofy storyline. It's just a blast overall. So that's Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, and I hope Jeremy, Man vs. Meeple, and all of you watching have a great end of your year.
Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and my nominee for the best solo game of the year in the adventure category is going to be 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games. A small box but a big experience, 20 Strong is going to bring you 3 separate games with the base game of Solar Sentinels. We also have over here Too Many Bones, and we have Hoplomachus Victorum, and it's going to be joined by even more in this series as players go through a, 20 Strong dice, effectively. You're going to have your 20 Strong warriors, you're going to be rolling dice, you're going to be taking on a sequence of challenges, all trying to maintain your economy of your dice, gathering new abilities, and ultimately trying to achieve your goals in an incredibly small box experience, but with a whole lot of game behind it. I've had a lot of fun with this experience, diving into all the 3 different ones. Personally, my favorite one still is Solo Sentinels, although I have a soft spot for Hoplomachus, and weirdly enough, considering how much I like Too Many Bones, this is my least favorite from the 3, but still an enjoyable one nonetheless, and I'm very excited to see what else they have to bring to this table. But if you're looking for a solo, small box game, you don't need to get all 3 of them. Start with the base game of 20 Strong and Solo Sentinels. There's a lot of gameplay going on here, but I think it's a worthy addition to your collection.
Number 2 is the type of game that I don't like, and this one made me, it converted me. I guess this is that one title that converted me, and that is Earthborn Rangers. I do not like living card games. Arkham Horror, if you've watched a specific video, is my #1 least favorite game of all time. I don't like these types of games that force you to buy expansion to keep up. But there's something about the adventuring in this game and the way the story unfolds in this game and the way you build decks in this game. It may just be the theme, okay? But there's something about the sense of adventure you get going out on a walk, doing these kind of lighter themed decisions and things changing as they go along as you expand, the feeling of just going out and doing what you want to do. There's a path, of course, there's some paths, but there's a sense of discovery. And that's something that I like about Earthborn Rangers. It just hit me. I don't know, like it just, the best way to describe it. I mean, like this #2 game of the year, I can't give you a full-on idea of like what really spoke to me, but it's like, I feel adventure. I feel the true sense of adventure, and I feel like I'm learning about myself as the character. And I love the challenge of that. I love the challenge of how these cards are getting played out and my decisions based on the weather, based on the locations that I pulled out, the people I've seen. I'm not going to kill this, I'm not going to kill this monster. I'm going to make other choices. And what's the impact of that? There's just all this stuff in there. I really didn't play this game enough. And what I did with this game is I said, I need to separate more time to just give myself over to this experience. That's the type of game this was. And honestly, I think all of us have games like this where it's just so good and you like either you play it a lot in a short window, or you go set it aside and be like, I need time for this. I want time for this. And that is the #1. That's like the #1 game for this. And I'm going to get to my #1 game, and it's still the same vibe, but it's just like, this was a true sense of adventure, and I loved it. That is Earthborn Rangers, #2 solo cooperative game. #1, baby. Here we go.
Hey everyone, my name is Lance and I'm with Learn to Play Games, and I've been asked to share with you my top pick for 2023 for the best dungeon crawler / adventure game. And there was a few good titles to choose from this year, but the one that really stood out to me is going to be my top pick, which is Resident Evil the board game. This is the latest game from Steamforged Games, and they have continued to refine and dial in this game in this series as they've continued to release them over the years. And it's just such a solid series for me. It really does capture the Resident Evil feel, making you make tough decisions on whether to try to take enemies down or just simply run past them, closing the door behind you, and all kinds of different things, really giving you that survival horror feel. And this latest game in the series has really just added some additional new features to the game that have really made it stand out even more. They've continued to refine it again and adding different things to the game, making the components better, really dialing everything up, really polishing it off and making it an absolute top pick for me for this year. So I hope you found this helpful, and as always, until next time, I'll see you later.
It came out early in the year. You may have forgot it. You may have bitten off more than you can chew with it, right? It's a bit epic. It's hard. It actually has these flaws. They're kind of glaring flaws with the sense of like the long kind of travel in it. But Isofarian Guard was the best action adventure game for me. It just was. It has this epicness to it. The story is actually really good, and I think the story hits me because the Foreteller app bugs aside, things aside, the actual story, the actual reading of the story, very good. Very good voice acting, sound, everything. I think that's what got me into the theme so much. And I kind of look beyond the flaws of the game because there's things that make the game longer than it should be. Kind of a grind. But they've even figured out that stuff now, and you're off to the adventures. You know, you're playing these chips, you're playing chips to your board, you're drawing them for a bag, so there's a little bit of randomness, but you're bag building and you're placing them on cards, and those cards flip over based on what you're playing. You're facing off against these different enemies at different levels. There's a sense of randomness, there's a sense of discovery as you move across the board. You're taking, this is very much a video game Skyrim type idea. You're taking, you're getting resources, you're going back and handing those in, you're kind of paying attention to that. And then you have these big battles, and like, it just progresses at the right pace for me. And speaking of content, that one right there has a lot of content. Maybe it has too much, but that's what you get in this gigantic box. Like, I got it when it was cheap. I bought it when it was cheaper, and now I know it's expensive. But that game, if you're looking for content and something that's a lifestyle type experience, for one, this is it. It's not overwhelming. It's great. It's very well organized, or you can organize it pretty quickly. Everything is high quality. There was no expense spared on the boxes. I know there were some box damage issues for some people, but nothing was, you could tell, no expense was spared. So whether you get it for the early price or the newer price, I feel comfortable recommending it for that price. I feel comfortable with that. I just got very lucky and adopted it early. So yeah, definitely take a look at this one here if you really truly love action adventure. It's really a solo game, but you want to play two because the characters interact off each other, so it's a two-handed solo game. So you definitely want to play off those two characters together as you level them up and add to their bag, and kind of see how the cards interact when you do it, because one person's got like potion and chemical stuff, and then the other, he kind of charges up the other person's bag who's like an attacker. So it's got that theme in it, and like I said, everything is very easy to read. The AI cards are very, very easy to interpret, but even some of the things that were negative in the game that I had, they had responded to them already, and they're going to be adopted. So I think there's another Kickstarter launching, and there's probably more content launching this year. Pay attention to this game. Pay attention to this game. And actually on the channel, Eric doesn't live that far from me. He came up here to show the game. We showed some early gameplay. So if you want like an hour and a half of gameplay so you can really get a gist of what's going on, there's a lot of great content out there for this game, and with good reason. It is an absolutely great game. It is deserving of being the #1 game. There are just a list of impressive games this year, and as we move to the top, like the top 5, it's just, these are very good games. While expensive, I have to say that, these are expensive purchases. If you're looking for that next big box and you're trying to figure out why or what, or is this worth it, I hope I gave you a good idea, because I'm not here to sell you on games. I'm here to tell you about them, and you can make those choices yourself. Of course, I'll never tell you what to do with your money, but I hope that these community members and myself have helped you see what games are really awesome. What was great this year, whether it's in a small box or a big box. What were those games, right? Before you make those moves and make those purchases with your little Christmas money or your little bonus money, whatever you got, right? So take care, party people. Hopefully you really enjoyed this list this year. The theme every year will be different. And please, when I make a call out for the new stuff, when I make a call out for the new list, I want you to turn on your cell phone cameras, your little vlogging camera, I don't care what it is, and tell me what your favorite adventure game was of 2024 when we get there. All right, folks, you take care. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me for another video on MvM.